Today we are going to be looking at the Tuzigoot architectural remains. It's a uh, native village that has been reconstructed on the top of a hill there, and we've already looked at several Indian sites: the Hopi, the Coronado, the Acoma, Sky City, and a couple of others. But today it is the Tuzigoot city. So the inside of the visitor center has a really good display of all their examples of pottery and good descriptions of everything. I tried to get pictures of everything, and I had to turn the ISO of the camera up to 1000 film speed and hope for the best. And I think I got some pretty good pictures out of it. So you see, you can pause these images and read the cards in there that are giving descriptions of everything. And these are actual pots from the dig site. And some of them are complete restorations, and most of them have pieces missing. This is examples of some of the grinding stones that they would use to grind their corn in. And these are some more pots that they've got. Large pots are displayed under the tabletop where the small things are shown. No descriptions of the pots underneath the tables, though. The description was on the items under glass on top of the tables. But very interesting, very nicely done pottery. And they must have had a pretty good understanding and technology for making the clay and making the pots. I don't know if they fired the pots like they do now or if they just dried in the sun. And here are more examples of what they have found at the site. These are some examples of cotton, I think it is. And those are arrowheads, and then it looks like little toys that they had made, horses and whatever, animals. Horses were not in the Americas until the Spanish came. There were horses in North America, but they went extinct. And that is some more pottery. And this is an example of netting that they would make, along with other pottery. You see some grinding tools there and some little bowls and more large pots and bowls. And this is a close-up of the netting that they would make. And this is talking about the paints that they would make and how they would make them. So the painting was very important to them, and so were colors, feathers from birds. They would go to Mexico and get macaws for the colorful feathers for their rituals. And so you can pause and read the print on these items here too. It looks like needles and other items. There's some jewelry that they would make. And they have some stones that they would use to make consistently sized beads. And so they had a pretty good method for making uniform bead sizes. There's a brick block that had a bunch of rows in it, and they would use those to make consistent numbers of beads at the same time. And so there is some more salt, an important substance. Everywhere in the world, everybody needs salt. And this is showing how to make fire with a stick and a bow. And so, as I say, the displays in their visitor center are very, very good. One of the better displays of the native cultures and archaeological sites that we've seen, and we've been to several of them now. And there's the gift of agave and a whole bunch of little arrowheads and other tools there. I'm not sure what they are. It's like needles or something. And so these are some of the types of rocks in the area that they would make use of. There's one of their grinding stones. But they would, some of the rocks, they would grind up and powder, smash them up, and that is where they would get their pigments. And the pigments, since it was rock, would last a very long time. Okay. So now I'm getting a low battery message because somehow the power block came unplugged. So let me see if I can plug it in before the battery dies. Okay, I think I got it, by George. Funny how things happen when you're in the middle of something consistently. Okay, so there is some uh, basket work that they did. So they made a lot of good use of the plants and materials around them. A lost art. Nowadays, everybody just goes to the store and buys things, and they had to make everything. So, although you might call them a Stone Age culture, they still had a lot of the things that we use today. They just had to make their own. And there is the pile of rubble from which they recreated the village. And so we're starting to make our way up to the dwelling structure. This is a grinding stone or a stone that they could grind their wheat in along the way. We call it a native Cuisinart. Looking across the meadow there is where a source of water for them was. So they had everything they needed. They had a good fertile valley below, water, trees, supply some firewood, a lot of stuff that you need for everyday life. They had right there, readily available. It was a very well chosen place to set up a city. And so this is looking at some of the rooms, and the rooms that they made had no doors or windows. And what you would do is they would have a roof on them. You would get on to walk around the roofs of everything, and then there would be a hole in the roof with a ladder. You would go down the ladder into your living area. And it was thought that there were maybe 400 or so people living there at one time. And then other archaeologists thought that it was more like 250 people at one time. So it's a number open to debate. And so these are some of the rooms that are up there. And these were a pretty good sized area. You see how it's got a lot of stacked rock and then kind of a mud between them, holding everything together. Rocks are all very colorful. You see in the center there, they left grinding stones that they found in the archaeological site just to show what would be in some of the rooms. Each family or person in a living unit, one of the squares, would have their own set of tools for grinding and cooking and what have you. So obviously, this is a very incomplete reconstruction of the city or village. There are no roofs installed, just partial reconstructions of the walls. So there's nothing there that would show you how they would get up and walk around on the roofs of the buildings and then climb down ladders into the living areas. So you can see the rocks piled up here. This is the taller side. And the area was rich in copper and other minerals, so there was a lot of mining that went on in the area. And again, you can pause and read the print on all these reader boards. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. Just the rocks were very colorful. So you see more partially reconstructed walls. Some of these are may have been buttresses that would support higher, taller walls. The natives may have had walls collapse and fall over and figured out that every so often you need to reinforce the side of the wall, much like cathedrals, old cathedrals in Europe have buttresses along the sides of them to keep them from falling outward.
Did they say they were originally 2 stories?
Okay, so we're just going to be taking a bunch of pictures of all the different rooms that you can see, and exactly how people managed to get from one to another uh, is anyone's guess because everything had to be done from the rooftop. And these are the stairs that go up to the highest point in the village. There you see the tower at the top. And again, we don't know that how accurate of a reconstruction it is. But we'll go up there in a minute. We're still walking around the bottom of it, the perimeter of the village, taking pictures of everything. And here are some more examples of what it used to look like. And these are just rooms that are farther down and out in either the front or the side. This actually kind of made me think of the bow of a ship. So that is a lot of rocks that they had to collect and bring up to build this little city or village, however you want to describe it. And there is another squared off area there. So you kind of know where the rooms are. They were able to, the definition, the outlines of all the rooms were available, but the rocks had been tumbled over, so they had to build on what they thought were the foundations of the walls and go up using the rocks that were on the site. And so it's kind of handy to have these benches periodically just to take a load off for a couple of minutes. So we're looking back up from the low end at the front side there at the tower, and you can see these other room squares defined there. Okay, so we are making our way up into the tower, and I imagine that that is where they would go to look across the valley and spot if any rival tribes were approaching, or traders, or anything that might have to get their attention. This is looking at the wall, or I'm sorry, the ceiling under the floor of the top level, and we'll be up on top there. They kind of have a rubberized tile, 2 feet square tiles that you walk on top. And that's just looking through the doorway there. I'm going to have a couple of different exposures so you can see the doorway and the framing, the rock work around the doorway. And that's the stairway going up. So there we are looking out the doorway. And I'm starting to work with the exposure here to see the rock inside, and there you go. So it doesn't have like the Roman style where the rock would be arced over the doorway with a keystone in the center. So you see the visitor center down below there. And this is the top. So you see the floor that they've got up there, and the rock wall that goes all around the perimeter of it. And exactly what it looked like, nobody knows for certain. There we are posing. I just put the camera on timer and left it on top of a rock. And that's how I finally got a picture of myself. When you're holding the camera, you never get your own picture. So we're looking down at some of the rooms from above, and yeah, it's just a very interesting one. This is one that Kelly wanted me to get a picture of because she likes the color of all these rocks in the wall. So they have groundwater management. Some of the rooms have drains in them. It does rain, and you do have to get water out of there. And so they've got a little bit of drainage built in around the site to address that problem. And we are down on the low perimeter again, looking up at the center tower, and you can see the rooms between us and the tower. It looks like a little makeshift fireplace in there. Not that anyone's used it, it's just there to see. So again, this is photography. It's a flat two-dimensional image, and you try to do the best you can to convey what people are seeing, but it's not like being there. And this Tuzigoot archaeological site, I very highly recommend it. I thought this was one of the best ones that we've been to. Sky City was interesting too. So that's just a last look back up at the rocks. And so we're going to have some videos here in a minute. There we are looking off in the distance at, I guess it's a concrete plant, but and this here is at the top of the mountain after the town of Jerome. And so I was trying to get a moonshot there and there. And now we're going to go to video. All right, today we are at one of the nicer national monuments that we have been to.
Tuzigoot National Monument.
Yes, I was going to ask for that name in a little bit, but that's okay.
It's Apache for crooked water. It is the remnant of a southern Sinagua village built between 1000 and 1400. It crowns the summit of a long ridge rising 120 feet above the Verde Valley. The original pueblo was 2 stories high in places, with 87 ground floor rooms. There were few exterior doors. Entry was by ladders through roof openings.
Pause and let's go to the sunny side. Okay, and now we're on the sunny side.
So this village began as a small cluster of rooms inhabited by some 50 persons for 100 years. In the 1200s, the population doubled and then doubled again.
It's quite the place. It has a nice valley below with water, everything the society needs to live.
Agriculture, architecture. Can't pronounce that.
And so you can see it is completely surrounded by mountains and then the valley floor below. Perfect living conditions.
The southern Sinagua lived primarily by farming and supplemented their staple crops by hunting and gathering. Their surroundings offered an abundance of resources: water from the river and streams, fertile land alongside waterways, and sufficient game, including deer, antelope, rabbit, bear, muskrat, and duck.
And here is the wall with colorful rocks that Kelly wanted so badly.
Yeah, I like the rocks all over the place. There's a lot of azurite and malachite rocks.
Down below is the Ranger Station Visitor Center.
And if you have a senior pass, it's free because it's a national park.
That is correct. Okay, so that concludes the video, and you can look at all the slides that we took. All right. So there is the copper smelter, and years ago it ran a long pipe out into this area that dumped all the spent copper slurry onto the plain here. So I am not aware of if it has damaged the water table or anything, but hopefully it doesn't have a ton of mercury in it or something like that. Yep. Just the old practices were just nasty. All right, we're going to Prescott now. And back there is Tuzigoot, or whatever it was that we were just at. Very nice Native American village reconstructed. Highly recommend. Okay. These rocks are pretty spectacular. We just went through Jerome, and that is like one of the most amazing drives through a city I've ever been on. There's a mine over there. You see all the tailings. Copper is big up here. I hope that's in focus. I don't know.
But boy, that is something.
Yeah, look at all the loose rock on the hillside there that could...
Mm-hmm. And as high up as we are, it goes even higher. And then, interestingly, there's a telephone wire and a power line up there.
There's some kind of wooden structure, little bridge or something right there.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can see that little bridgeway up there.
Tonight we are camped in Potato Patch Campground at the top of the mountain after the town of Jerome. I highly recommend going through Jerome. It is one neat city.